What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman here for Stokastic.com, back again with the NFL DFS contenders on DraftKings for week 2. We're already here, week 2, 1 week down. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Let me know in the comments section. I want to know who you like, who you don't like, things you saw that I did that you want to see more of. Whatever it is, let me know in the comment section. And then click the link in the description and head on over to Prize Picks, the presenting sponsor of this video. They will match any deposit up to $100. You don't need an optimizer. You're picking player props, over-unders. If you can hit 5 of them, you'll net up to 10x your entry fee. Plenty of tools at Stokastic that will help you out as well. We got the defenses on the screen right now. Bengals, your #1 defense heading into the week. You can see the rest of the top 10. Who will be my top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, wideouts, and tight ends for the rest of the week? It's time to find out. Freiermuth, Thomas, Ertz, Schultz, and Waller round out the bottom of my top 10. Kyle Pitts in at number 5, 5,400, projected for about 12 fantasy points. Falcons set up to get smacked around by the Rams. 10-point dogs, 46.5 point total. You don't expect Pitts to go for north of 30, just 1% of the time, but he is in the optimal lineup 8% of the time. You assume the Falcons are going to have to throw the ball particularly late because they should just probably be behind the Rams. That looks good to me. A $5,400 Pitts certainly has some upside. I like getting here for sure. He was enough to get into the top 5. There are a couple guys, though, that stand out at tight end this week. If you need a little bit more value, Albert O is here, 3,700, projected for 9 fantasy points. Denver, the opposite of Atlanta, 10-point favorites here against the Houston Texans, 46-point total. No real chance to go for north of 30, just 0.1%, but 8% likelihood to be in the optimal because at 3,700, it really doesn't take much. If he happens to get in the end zone, you've already paid off that salary and you're probably going to be fine, barring any truly outlier tight end performances from some of the higher owned guys. But if you need to pay down, Albert O's your man. More similar to Kyle Pitts, we've got TJ Hockenson in at number 3, 4,700, projected for 11 fantasy points. Lions taking on the Commanders. The Lions are 1-point favorites here for the first time in years, honestly. 48.5 point total. Again, you're not expecting 30 fantasy points, but you don't need it either. 9% chance to be in the optimal. I like the spot. I like the total here, 48.5, a little bit higher than I was expecting. I think the Lions are ripe to put up some offense, even here against the Commanders, a team that near and dear to my heart, but I'm not going to let that stop me in my DFS construction. I've got Hockenson in at number 3. Now we take the real big bump up. Tyler Higbee in at number 2, 4,200, projected for 10.5 fantasy points. We already mentioned this game before. Rams 10-point favorites, 46.5 point total. 12% chance, though, for Higbee to be in the optimal. This is just an outstanding offensive environment for the Rams. Monster favorites, big implied total for LA. What's not to like here? A $4,200 price tag, very easy to pay off for Higbee. Almost did enough to get to the #1 spot, but just shy of that spot. I'm saying spot too much. And that #1 tight end option this week is Mark Andrews, 6,400, projected for 15 fantasy points. Baltimore, 3.5-point favorites against Miami, 44.5 point total. This is where you get a real upside. Mark Andrews, 5% chance to go for north of 30. Now, it's still just a 16% chance to go under 10. That would be a disaster for this week. 13% likelihood to be in the optimal lineup means Mark Andrews is your #1 tight end for the week. Rounding out the bottom of the wide receivers, Evans, Chase, Kirk, Pittman, and DJ Moore. In the top 5, AMON-RA St. Brown in 6,500, projected for 15 fantasy points. We're back to the Lions again, so if you're seeing this one, nice little stack of St. Brown and Hockenson. Not the worst idea against Washington. Lions, as we've already mentioned, 1-point favorites. 9% chance for St. Brown to go for north of 30. That is very interesting to me. 20% chance, though, basically, of finishing under 10. An 11% likelihood to be in the optimal lineup. It's tough right now. The pricing, very efficient. It's hard to find anybody that just immediately separates from the pack. But right now, starting to put together the pieces of a Lions stack this week. Now we can go to one of the big guns, 9,900 for Cooper Kupp, projected for 23 fantasy points, like he's a quarterback. Rams, as we've already mentioned, Kupp will pair pretty nicely with HIGBEE. 10-point favorites here for the Rams, 46.5-point total. A 31% chance that Cooper Kupp goes for north of 30 fantasy points. That's bonkers, but also not shocking at all. 12% likelihood, though, that he's the optimal, and that's not crazy. A $9,900 price tag means you need a very specific outcome from Cooper Kupp. He basically has to get in the end zone, barring one of those crazy like 15 for 200 type days where he doesn't get in. But like, you're gonna need a touchdown for sure, multiple receptions, 100 yards. If you want to try to pay off 9,900, it's not just that you need Cooper Kupp to have a big day, but it's gonna depend what everybody in like the high 7s, low 8 ranges do at running back and wideout. They could just be more efficient, but there aren't a lot of people out there with the same raw point ceiling as Cooper Kupp. For example, one of those guys that's slightly cheaper is TYREEK Hill, but we know what the big playability looks like. $7,100, so $2,800 cheaper than Cooper Kupp, projected for 17.5. Miami 3.5-point dogs here, 44.5-point total against Baltimore. Just a 14% chance that TYREEK Hill goes for north of 30, but if he does go to 30, that's a lot better than it is at 9,900. 13% chance that Hill is in the optimal, so he's able to just slightly pass Cooper Kupp because $2,800 is a lot of money if you're trying to build out a lineup, and Hill is just slightly more efficient and has a comparable upside. To Houston we go for the mid-tier, and that's going to be Brandin Cooks, 6K, projected for about 15 fantasy points. We've mentioned Houston already, massive dogs, 10-point underdogs, 46-point total. So you know Houston's going to at least, you expect Houston to be throwing in the second half and probably in the first half as well. 9% likelihood of Cooks going north of 30, so there is some upside here. 13% chance that he's in the optimal, very similar to TYREEK Hill. This is sort of your mid-tier play. If you don't want to go all the way up, but you don't want to go all the way down, Brandin Cooks is just sitting there in the middle looking great. But the number one guy, you're paying up for. And that number one guy is Davante Adams, 8,600, projected for 22.2. The Raiders are 5-point favorites against the Arizona Cardinals, 51.5-point total, which means we're expecting a lot of fantasy output here. 26% chance that Adams goes north of 30, 16% likelihood he is in the optimal. If the Cooper Kupp price is too much for you, Davante Adams is the direction you want to go. One, I think Adams is just simply a better option this week, and two, you still save $1,300 by going from Cooper Kupp to Adams. Kupp might be like a pay up to be contrarian option this week, but no one looks better at wideout than Davante Adams. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams round out the bottom of my top 10. Christian McCaffrey in at number 5. Didn't go well in week 1 for McCaffrey. Snuck in the end zone, but the rest of it looked bad. 8,900 this week for him. 21.7 fantasy point projection. Carolina, 1.5-point underdogs against the Giants, 43.5-point total. Neither of those things look great, but McCaffrey's involved in the game no matter what. Ahead, you're going to McCaffrey. Behind, you're throwing to McCaffrey. Or at least you expect them to throw to McCaffrey. 21% chance that he goes for north of 30, 12% chance he's in the optimal. The price tag scares me a little bit based on that line and total. But no matter how much it scares me on paper, it doesn't scare me in the Sims because McCaffrey still gets to the 5th spot. We're back to Detroit again for 7K DeAndre Swift, projected for 17.5 fantasy points. We've touched on this line multiple times now. Right around a 10% chance for Swift to go for north of 30. 13% likelihood that he's in your optimal lineup. I like it. I'm starting to really like the Lions this week, which kind of scares me. Their ownership will play a big role, but combining Swift, getting to Hockenson, it's all sort of there for you if you're looking for it. The Lions, right now, a sneaky stack for week 2. If we're going to be able to get a running back, a wideout, and a tight end all in that top 10, we're going to get a lot of pieces that we can put together for a stack. This one here makes a lot of sense. DARRELL Henderson in at number 3, 5,700, projected for 16 fantasy points. Rams are big favorites. It's not going to be the monster day you're looking for here out of Henderson, just a 6% chance to go for north of 30, but you don't even need that much. He's in the optimal lineup 15% of the time. You expect the Rams to get out in front. If Henderson can happen to be one of the guys that scores early, could be in for a monster day, because based on the way this line is set up, I think you'll get a steady diet of Darrell Henderson in the second half. One of my favorite options. I love the price point. I love the matchup. Everything looks good for Darrell Henderson. I also have no problem whatsoever getting to Leonard Fournette in the number 2 spot. 6,700 projected for 17.5. Tampa 2.5 point favorites against the Saints. 44.5 point total. Fournette can go for north of 30 11% of the time. 17% likelihood that he is in the optimal lineup. They're starting to get a little bit of separation here at running back. We're jumping up 2% from Swift to Henderson, 2% from Henderson to Fournette, and now a little bit of a jump up to the number 1 running back for the week. And it's a big jump, honestly. And that number 1 running back is $7,300 Saquon Barkley, projected for almost 21 fantasy points. Giants taking on Carolina, 1.5 point favorites. Not the best total in the world, but you know how Barkley is going to be involved, and he looked really good in week 1. 19% chance that he goes for north of 30, which would be fantastic. 22% chance that he's optimal in the lineup, so which means like you can probably get by with Saquon in an optimal at like 27, 28, 29 fantasy points. It's a pretty big day, but if you're involved in the passing game and in the running game, things are going to be easier. 5 percentage point jump for Saquon Barkley over Leonard Fournette. Easily the number 1 contender at running back. Now, before we get to those quarterbacks, one last reminder. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter, @Josh Engleman. Let me know in the comments what you like, what you dislike, who are your favorite plays for this week, and then go sign up at Prize Picks using the link in the description. Basically, no separation at quarterback this week. 1 through 4, all the same. Brady, Lawrence, Burrow, Murray, Wentz, rounding out the bottom of the top 10. Daniel Jones in at number 5, 5,100 projected for 18 fantasy points. 9% chance to go for north of 30. 7% chance to be in the optimal lineup. I think Daniel Jones looks good. Wouldn't mind having him alongside a Saquon Barkley lineup. There can certainly be involved in the passing game. Get one more pass catcher. I think you're good to go for a Giants stack, which isn't something that I'll say a lot this year. This one's pretty easy. Derek Carr in at number 4. 6,200 here for Carr. 21.5 point fantasy projection. Raiders, 5 point favorites. Big time total. Lots of throwing going on. Adams, the number 1 wideout. So the Carr-Adams combo, gonna be pretty popular, and it should be. Plenty of ways to get different with the rest of your lineup. Don't be afraid to go to that combination. 18-ish% chance that he goes for more than 30. Just a 7.5% chance he is your optimal quarterback, but that is okay with me. There's obviously some options for the Raiders for stacking up Derek Carr. In at number 3, I didn't expect it, but that's Trey Lance, 5,700. Price tag helps. Projected for 20 fantasy points. Niners are 8.5 point favorites against Seattle. 41 point total. 13% likelihood for Lance to go for north of 30. 8% chance that he is in the optimal. You want to put him with Debo, go for it. You want to run some Trey Lance naked? I think there's a path there given his price tag. I don't think it's the craziest situation in the world to just go to Trey Lance if he's going to spread it out. Maybe get in on the ground. But again, Carr, Lance, very similar here. The number 1 guy could also be the number 4 guy. It's all about stacking. It's all about lineup correlation. It's all about what you do with the rest of your spots. I don't have much else to say about Trey Lance. I do have a lot, however, to say about Matt Stafford in at number 2. 6,300, projected for 20.7 fantasy points. Rams, 10 point favorites, 46.5 point total. 17% chance that Stafford is going to go north of 30. Still, though, 8% chance to be optimal. Kind of wish he was on the Lions, given the amount of pass catchers that are out there for Detroit. But alas, Stafford here for the Rams clearly pairs quite well with someone named Cooper Kupp. You're going to pay a lot for Kupp, obviously, but pairing him with Stafford is one of the more obvious things that you would do. You like, just, would you be surprised if Cooper Kupp had 2 touchdowns? Well, those 2 touchdowns are probably coming from Matt Stafford. 17% chance to go for north of 30. That's really what we're looking for here, and I think he is ripe to do that in a great spot against Atlanta. We close it out with Lamar Jackson in at the number 1 spot, 7,400, projected for 23 fantasy points. They're 3.5 point favorites, 44 point total. You know what Lamar can do. 24% chance to go for more than 30. He's a threat on the ground. He's a threat in the air. He's a threat everywhere, if we're being perfectly honest. But still, just an 8% chance to be optimal. Look how flat those sim numbers are at quarterback. Very, very difficult to lock down quarterback. What's more important? find your wide receivers, find your tight ends, figure out the little stack you want to do there, and then bring that quarterback along for the ride. Lamar Jackson in at number 1. All right, folks, that will do it. Those are my NFL DFS contenders for week 2 on DraftKings. FanDuel version of this video is around here somewhere, so check it out. Good luck. Well, not tonight. Good luck Sunday, everybody. Win some money. That's what I want you to do. I will be back Sunday morning with another edition of the Contenders.